If you don't know which food is considered the cement that holds the castle of cuisine together, then we got to talk about the single most important food of all, because it touches every part of the kitchen and it might just be nature's perfect food. We'll talk about it today on the Carefree Cooks Code. I'm Chef Todd Moore, and this is the Carefree Cooks Code, every Tuesday live at noon Eastern. Here's our challenge. How can home cooks cook freely with creativity, confidence, and pride while ignoring recipes and still impressing themselves and others with what they cook? Well, the answer is found in becoming empowered with how cooking works, using dependable and repeatable methods of cooking that work for any ingredient, for any diet, and any desire, just like chefs do. And we'll know we've cracked it when everyone sees cooking as an exciting and rewarding way to improve their relationships, their lifestyles, and their health through better food and cooking. This is the Carefree Cooks Code. Hey, welcome back to the Carefree Cooks Code, everyone. This is the weekly show for methods, techniques, and insights into better food and cooking. And of course, we're live every Tuesday at noon Eastern. You can find all my past videos in the archive on Facebook. Just follow that link below there. It's facebook.com/chef.todd.moore/videos. I didn't make that up. They did. Or if you want to see what I'm cooking just about every night of the week and a few breakfasts thrown in there as well, follow Chef Todd Moore on Instagram also. How do we do it? How do I do it? Well, I'm a carefree cook. I create my own recipes. I bring friends and family together. I learn every time I cook. I create my own cooking style because I practice pro methods, and I wind up loving my cooking. That's a big part of it. Okay, so today, before we get to the most important food in the world, the one that is the cement that holds the castle of cuisine together and it touches every part of the kitchen and so on. It's just something I get so excited about. It's really queer. I know people have been making fun of me about this for a long time. But first, I've got a true or false for you, and I guess this might be a hint. True or false today? Tell me in the comments section below, simply true or false. And this statement is, the color of an egg is determined by the breed of the hen, not what the chicken eats. Okay? True or false, tell me in the comments section below. So, okay, I might have given it away a little bit there. What is this cement that holds the castle of cuisine together? It's a very old quote, sometimes attributed to Escoffier, sometimes attributed to Caramé. It's really hard to find who said this. I have a tendency to think Escoffier. If you read about Auguste Escoffier at all, he liked quotes. He liked to make fun of the elaborate things of the past and bring it down to a few words and sum things up. And I don't know, it might have caught on a few hundred years later, because you know how many phrases we have, how many 18 and 10 formulas, how many round to plank, plank to stick, stick to cube kind of things we have. So Escoffier might have rubbed up on me, rubbed off on me. Oh no, it was that would be really rude. But anyway, this is something that is exquisitely simple. It's just so simple when you look at it, but when you delve into it, it is enormously complex. It is such a contradiction in itself. It might just be nature's perfect food. I told you, it's my personal food crush, ladies and gentlemen. It's an egg, right? That's right. It's an egg. Nature designed this perfect thing. It is a perfect food source and protection for developing chicks. A blue chicken? I have to talk to my production staff. Blue chicken? Well, I guess where do you think Easter eggs come from, right? Gotta come from blue chickens. Must be. Anyway, look, when the egg is not fertilized, it becomes a food... Oh, that was a bad transition. Ouch. It becomes a food source for human beings, this egg. And perhaps you might say that eggs are the most versatile food in the kitchen because they can be served alone, most certainly, or as an ingredient with some other dish. Eggs, they contribute texture, flavor, structure to baked items, moisture, they retain moisture. They give their nutrition to everything from soups and sauces to breads and pastries. And eggs, in particular chicken eggs, they're an excellent food source for human beings because of their high protein content, their low cost, and really easy availability. You don't have to hunt them. They're easy to get. And I have such a serious love affair with eggs that many years ago, when my doctor told me to give up eggs because of my alleged cholesterol issue, I gave up my doctor instead. I didn't love my doctor nearly as much as I loved eggs, and I know they're good for you. So first of all, they're natural. It's a natural food. Of all the things that you can go into the grocery store and just pull off the shelf, an egg, or a real egg, it's made from a hen. It's not made in a factory. It's not made out of tofu or hydrolyzed something else. And this is really important because much of the benefit of eating eggs is because of the nutritional value that you get from it. And the Food and Agriculture Organization in the United Nations, it studies the rate of efficiency in which a protein is used for growth in the human body. What it's called is a biological value scale that the UN needs to figure out how to feed the world. You get the idea behind this? If we could get the best food there is, we would feed more. This is why the UN studies things like this. So what do you think? What do you think some of the most efficient proteins for metabolizing in the human body are? How quickly the body can put a protein into use, building muscles, repairing cells, strengthening synapses in the brain. This is the question that they pose. And on a scale of 1 to 100, 100 representing the top efficiency, we find, what would you think? Think about this. Things like beef and fish and milk and vegetable proteins and so on. Where do you think they would rank? Well, beef, which I would immediately think would be one of the highest proteins, ranks 74 in metabolizable, using for the body, being used by the human body, 74 on a scale from 1 to 100. Fish, lean fish, gets a 76. Cow's milk. If you were of my generation, you couldn't get up from the dinner table unless you finished all your milk. There was no soda when I was a kid. It was always milk because everybody thought it was so good for growing children, and that scored an 85. And eggs scored a 93.7. 93.7 as the protein best metabolizable, if that's such a word, for the human body. It's the best thing that your body can take. And for vegetarians, all these beans and avocados and soy, they all fall well below beef on the scale. So it's really difficult to be one of these lacto-vegetarians, I think. I'm not a nutritionist. This is my opinion as a former exec chef at a hospital. I think it's very difficult to get the proteins that you really need. And this is why egg and egg protein is so important. So do you know what the UN eventually said? All this came down to the fact that eggs contain the highest quality food protein known. Based on the essential amino acid it provides, the egg protein is second only to infant mother's milk for human nutrition. Let me let that sink in for a minute. The only thing better than eggs for human nutrition is breast milk. And when I used to do this in culinary school, I got chuckles, such chuckles. And I would elaborate in ways that I will not today, but get the point. If you're not an infant, eggs are the best thing they can do. So let's break all this stuff down, all right? Let's talk about the parts of the egg so you can get to know it a little better, so you can be more confident in cooking with it. Because when you can make omelets, when you can thicken sauces with egg proteins, when you can use them to caramelize, when you can use them to bind, when you can, I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get to all that. So let's talk about the egg first. You can see how excited I get about eggs. We're talking about the shell, okay? The outer shell, and this is composed of calcium carbonate. This basically is the protection. It prevents microbes from entering, and it prevents moisture from escaping. It protects the egg also during handling and transport. And here's the thing. The color of the egg has no effect on the quality, the flavor, or nutrition. If anybody tells you that brown eggs are more nutritious than white eggs or blue eggs are more, it's just not true. The color has no effect. Now, the way that color was raised might have an effect, but that's an important debate that I want to end there. Brown eggs are not more nutritious inherently. All right, let's talk about the yolk. This is, of course, the yellow portion of the egg. This constitutes 1/3 of the egg mass, okay, the weight of it, but 3/4 of all the calories. So it's packed, right? It has most of the minerals, it has most of the vitamins, and it has 100% of the fat. So it takes up only 1/3 of the real estate, but it brings most of really what's important in an egg. It contains lecithin, which is the emulsifier that we use for I'm like salivating. That was embarrassing. Lecithin is the emulsifier that we make for mayonnaise or hollandaise or dressings or things like that. Egg yolks coagulate at a different temperature than the whites do. This is why a scrambled egg is easier to cook than a fried egg. We can get into that another time. But the egg yolk coagulates between 149 and 158 Fahrenheit. And the color can vary. Any type of feed can be given the hen. Oh, I shouldn't blow that. And again, the color of the yolk has no effect on the quality, the flavor, the nutrition. A brighter yellow yolk is not more nutritious. It might be more fresh, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So now you've got, I didn't want to I don't want to spoil it. Anyway, next you've got the albumin. The albumin is the clear part of the egg. All right, so it's not white. It's actually clear. It's only white when it coagulates. It's only white when it cooks. It's the clear part of the egg, and it makes up 2/3 of the egg's mass. Most of the mass contains more than half of the protein, but has zero fat. No fat in an egg white, and coagulates at an actually slightly lower temperature of 144 to 149 degrees Fahrenheit. This is why people burn egg white omelets. You've got to cook an egg white omelet at a lower temperature, more delicately. I would even say with a little bit of water to add moisture to keep the caramelization down. But this is why people always mess up egg white omelets. That is another story for another day. The last part is the Halley's cord, and this is the thick, twisted strands of egg white. It's actually part of the albumin with more protein. They're kind of twisted strands. This is what anchors the yolk in place. This is the thing when you crack it that won't let go. You're trying to shake it. It just will not stop. That's its job. It's supposed to keep the yolk anchored to the shell. Otherwise, the yolk would bounce around in there and you would always have a broken yolk whenever you cracked an egg. But here's the thing. A heavy Halley's cord, it is not an embryo. There are so many myths about eggs. When you get a heavy Halley's cord, people think, oh my, it must have been fertilized or it was a chicken. No, that's not the case. It's just that the more prominent the Halley's generally, the stronger that cord is, the fresher the egg will be. An egg that you crack that runs out of the shell like water generally is not the freshest egg. So how do you tell a fresh egg from one that isn't as fresh? Well, in the U.S., eggs are graded by the USDA or a state agency that follows the USDA grade lines. And eggs are graded like this: AA, A, and B. They're given to an egg based on the interior or exterior quality, not the size. Eggs are not graded by size. That's where jumbo, medium, extra large come in. So the grade also has no effect on the nutritional value or how fresh the egg is. It's when it was looked at it by the inspector visually, internally, visually, externally. It says nothing else about the egg. The AA egg is something that you crack, and the egg covers a small area. It doesn't run. The albumin is very thick, sits very high. The Halley's is very cloudy, like I said, very stringy. The yolk, very firm, very high, sits way up high on the egg. You should never accept broken eggs. The AA egg is something that is unstained. It is not cloudy, and it's also very smooth. The grade A egg, if you were to crack it, will cover on a plate a little bit more area. The albumin, the white, is a little bit more runny. The yolk is still firm, but it'll flatten out a little bit. And a grade A egg could have some pitted or rough spots on the shell. A grade B egg, you crack it, it's watery. It just runs. It covers a wide area. The yolk is usually pretty flattened. It's usually enlarged. So that's when you crack an egg on a plate, the more it stands up, the less it spreads generally, the fresher the egg. And remember, egg quality, okay? It's egg quality. The grading and the size are entirely different and they're not related. So just because it has a double A, it doesn't mean it's delicious. It's just the way someone looked at it. So you've still got to use your own eyes and you've got to know where your egg is coming from. So your egg should only be selected on a basis of the things that you want, the characteristics that you use, and you bought them there in the past and you liked them, kind of thing. All right, let's talk about storing eggs, because eggs, one of the downsides about eggs is they go bad rather quickly. Okay, well, I don't mean to say that. They can be stored for a long period of time, but their quality is quickly diminished when you store them improperly. Here's what I mean. A dozen eggs, fresh eggs, can remain wholesome, quality, so on, for 3 weeks. I would say 3 weeks to a month when stored correctly. But as with any item in storage, there are basically 3 considerations. Air circulation, make sure air gets around them. Moisture, it has to be a dry environment. And temperature, keeping them out of the temperature danger zone. And eggs should always be stored at temperatures below 40 degrees Fahrenheit or about 4.5 degrees Celsius. But the only problem here is that your average refrigerator is usually 45, 43, 48, somewhere there, 40 or above. And this means that you should always try and store your eggs in the absolute coldest part of your refrigerator. This is normally the top right or top left, wherever there's a vent that is funneling air from the freezer. Now, sometimes they'll design it down the back of the refrigerator and it comes out the bottom and so on. But considering that warmer air rises, I think they always try and pump cold air at the top of your refrigerator and it comes from the freezer. So look for that vent. You could also put a thermometer in your refrigerator, and you could see different. If you have a wireless thermometer, you could tell immediately when you close the door, and you'll see your refrigerator has spots that are a degree or 2 or 3 different from other spots. What this means for your eggs is an extra week or a week less. Now, a dozen eggs never lasts a week in my house. I don't ever have a storage problem with eggs. They just don't last. So even if you have that egg tray on your refrigerator door, don't use it. I don't understand why they did this design. Do not ever store eggs on your door. It's one of the warmest places on your refrigerator. So that if you store them improperly, the eggs that might have lasted 3 weeks, they can spoil in 1/3 of the time if the temperature is just a degree or 2 higher than that 40 Fahrenheit, 4.5 Celsius. Eggs, they're gonna age much more quickly at warmer temperatures. The other thing is eggshells, they absorb smells. Nice nursery rhyme, eggshells absorb smells. So always store eggs away from stronger foods. You could even keep your eggs in an airtight container. Eggs don't need that much air circulation. That's why they have a shell. It's not like lettuce or things like that. Eggs aren't going to dry out. Eggs don't get soggy from too much moisture, so no worries there. But keep them away from chopped garlic. Keep them away from onions. Keep them away from heavily spiced curries, Indian food, ethnic foods. Keep them away from aromatic spices, things like that. All right, lastly, never use dirty eggs. Never use cracked eggs. Never use broken eggs. As soon as that shell is broken, it is a conduit for bacteria and other contaminants. And all that moisture, all that protein, all the sugars, all the goodness on the inside of the egg, the bacteria is going to love that. So the eggs, they have a built-in storage mechanism. I mean, the shell, right? The shell, if it's ever broken or cracked, then this becomes a barrier, an internal barrier for potentially dangerous bacteria. So don't ever use dirty, broken, cracked, anything. It's not worth it. Lastly, to understand that eggs truly are the king of the kitchen, because they touch every single part of cooking and baking. I would defy anyone to tell me an area of the kitchen, not a recipe. Yes, of course, you can give me a recipe that doesn't have eggs, but somewhere that the egg isn't. In other words, I could give you an animal protein and it doesn't occur in icings. No ground beef buttercream, okay? There's my point. But eggs bind. Think about your meatloafs, your lasagna, croquettes, baked goods, donuts, profiteroles, beignets. It goes on and on and on. Eggs leaven in baked goods, in popovers, in Yorkshire pudding, in soufflés, in sponge cakes, in angel food cakes. Eggs do the leavening. Eggs thicken in custards, in sauces. Eggs emulsify in mayonnaise and salad dressings. In hollandaise sauce, they coat and glaze. They give color to cookies and bread. They clarify soups like a consommé. You can have a cloudy stock and use egg whites to clarify it. They inhibit crystallization when you're doing candies or frostings. Some egg whites doesn't let it get crunchy. You can garnish with them. You can chop them and separate them in yolks and different than white and sprinkle them on. It's one of the most amazing foods that if you don't have an extremely high level of respect for the egg, you need to start thinking about it. You need to start thinking about not just scrambled eggs, not just omelets, because you should be skilled with those, but how you're thickening sauces, how you're incorporating them into your baking of every part of the day, of every part of the kitchen. Because look, I challenge you. I challenge you to find any other food that does so much for cooking, that does so much for the human body, that remains really, really cheap and really readily available. Name it, because you can't. Eggs are nature's perfect food. They are the cement that holds the castle of cuisine together. Oh, by the way, do you know how to separate two eggs? Like this. One of my favorite chef jokes. Hey, thank you. I'll be here all week. Don't forget your bartenders and waitresses. Look, seriously, an absolutely necessary part of you moving your own carefree cooking journey forward is a healthy respect and understanding of all the things that eggs do in the kitchen, all the things that eggs do for your body as well. Because when you cream things, or when you emulsify, you cream the butter and sugar in your baking, you emulsify correctly with those eggs, the difference is going to be dramatic. When you're making chocolate mousse, when you're making soufflés or flan, when you know how you can incorporate air into eggs, when you know the perfect temperatures for them to accept that air, your baking results are going to be twice as good. Your frostings and icings, if you make those, they're going to step up to a pro level when you know how to put boiled sugar into egg whites. Your sauces will take on a whole new dimension when you know how to thicken with egg proteins in a custard style. So look, the egg isn't just the cement that holds the castle of cuisine together. It is the king of cuisine. It is something that we can never do without. All right, let's see what's going on in our Carefree Cooks community for lifetime members of web cooking classes. Anybody cracking eggs this week? Let's see. What do you know? Denise said she saw my Loco Moco class a few weeks ago. We did my favorite Hawaiian breakfast, Loco Moco, on a Saturday. She whipped up her own version with a hamburger patty over rice and a poached egg. Nicely done. Eric is working with eggs as well, but he only wanted to use the white part. This is good. Cool. How many people make fresh meringue? How many? This might be something you can remember from years ago. Grandma making meringue cookies or mom making meringues. This is brilliant, Eric. I absolutely love it. Eric says way better than the store-bought kind. Of course, Eric. Of course. When you know how to deal with eggs and you make it yourself, that's just brilliant. Making your own meringues. I love it. These, as a matter of fact, these right here, these are Dana's first ever poached eggs. I hear this from so many people. They have never poached eggs before. And when they learn how to do it, it's just a new cooking method. It's a moist, convective cooking method. And when you learn the difference between boil, simmer, and poach, like I teach in web cooking classes lesson week 5, your eggs will be that much better. Anyway, Dana's first ever poached eggs, some bacon, some toast. And it just reminds me, it's not what you cook, it's how you cook it. When you have a cooking method then you add poaching to your repertoire, and now you have it forever. You have it for the rest of your life. It's a valuable skill. This is why people tell me I hate poached eggs until they learn how to poach an egg. Then they love poached eggs. It's not what you cook, it's how you cook it. Janice. Now, Janice is familiar with the whole egg in a hole thing because she says she normally does it with a piece of toast, but now she added our avocado donut thing to it. I don't think that's what I called it. Bird's nest, that's what I said. Avocado bird's nest, right? And I'm learning from Janice as well. We're always learning new things, right, Janice? Rena has discovered a new brunch favorite this week. Rena's doing my Baltimore Benedict. It's poached eggs on a crab cake with hollandaise sauce. Oh, God. That's so good, man. Talk about a skill that will take you far. I mean, you can put it on vegetables, you can put it on seafood, put it on beef even. Making hollandaise sauce, knowing how to create that emulsification with egg yolks and clarified butter. Once you get it down, you own it for the rest of your life. You will never have to learn how to make hollandaise sauce again, but you'll be whipping it up for all kinds of things. It's incredible. Tony says, "Hear ye, all lords and ladies." He wanted everyone's attention to show off his croque madame. It was another idea from a live video that I did just 2 weeks ago. You should go back and check that out. Rachel is going her own way with the Benedict thing, placing her perfectly poached egg, nicely done, on a corn cake. Who says it has to be an English muffin or a crab cake for that matter? Corn cake Benedict. Rachel just making it up because she's a carefree cook. Nicely done. Hey, so how do they do it? You know, how do these lifetime members of web cooking classes, those people hanging out, more than 15,000 of them, I think now, how do they know how to do all these things? Doesn't it seem, you know, if you're not a member of web cooking classes, if you're not playing around in our Carefree Cooks community, you must be going, how do these people do this? Are they all like high-level chefs? You would not believe how we turn people that hate cooking into lovers of cooking, people that are stymied by it to people that can't get enough. No, we're not all that brilliant, or at least we didn't start that brilliant. I know I didn't. I started not knowing how to do anything, but I had a desire to learn. So you should join us, really, to turn your focus from recipes to methods, and it will really, really set you free. All right, let's get back to the true or false today. I think I kind of gave it away. The color of an egg is determined by the breed of the hen, not what the chicken eats. Yeah, that's true. The yolk color might change because of what they eat. All right, so a little trick question. I should have said the shell, the color of an egg. Yeah, it makes sense. It's not a trick question. So what? Even if it is, I tricked you. The outside color is because of the breed. The color of the yolk can change based on what they eat. You'll see chickens that eat corn have very yellow yolks and so on. I know there are tons of you out there. My friends in Canada, my friends in the northern United States, tons of you have your own chickens. Go ahead, comment. Please tell us what it's like. And if I've missed anything here, I would love to know that too. Do you know anyone whose castle of cuisine might be crumbling around them? Maybe you should introduce them to the cement that might put their castle back together again. All right, I'm trying. Please share this video with your friends. And you know, if you just think, Chef Todd, you've lost your mind, which you probably do often, if 1 time just seems ridiculous, if 2 times seems a little measly and not enough, if 3 times seems silly and 4 times seems funny, then how about putting 5 times more variety and 5 times more flavor into your cooking, because it's not ridiculous, it's not measly, it's not silly, sometimes it's funny, but what it is my latest free online class. Get 5 times more variety and 5 times more flavor with just 1 powerful pro kitchen practice. Go to webcookingclasses.com/5 times. And this is the last week that I'll be promoting this class. So if you haven't jumped at it yet, go ahead, grab a class time now. Until next Tuesday, this is Chef Todd reminding you that there is a method to your safest and eggiest cooking success. Bye-bye.